Am I audible, friends? Am I audible? Can you hear my voice?
Yes,
Okay. Is my voice clear, friends?
yes.
Okay. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, shall we start
So,
the session?
uh, very good morning to one and all. It is almost 10:30 and the students will join with us. They take 2-3 minutes to join. So, Dipali Mahida is one of our students, like Sunil Shah, and probably they belong to the same batch.
Yes, sir.
The first lecture is that of Dipali Mahida, and the second lecture is that of Sunil Shah. So, Dipaliji, you have 1 hour and 15 minutes or so from 10:30 to 11:45. Your time is. Dipali was a very good student when she studied here, and she has earned a name for herself as a teacher. And many a time in many programs, we see her as an anchor person.
Thank you, sir.
So, we are proud of her. And today she is going to speak on teaching attitude and aptitude. I think before serving in MB Patel College of Education, did you serve anywhere else?
Yes, I worked as an assistant professor in Baymid College of Education for one and a
Med
half
College.
year.
Ah, so, but what that must be a very small period of time.
Yes, yes, only for one
Okay.
year.
Ah, so she is associate professor and she is working in MB Patel College of Education. And some of you will go for B.Ed or M.Ed, and there you will meet her. So, without wasting much time, I welcome Dipali Mahida and request her to give her talk on teaching attitude and aptitude. Okay,
Thank you very much,
thank you.
sir. It's my honor and privilege to engage the session, and I am really happy and very much thankful to Pranav Dave, sir. He is, and when he was there in the department, and when I was as a student, he used to guide us. He was our mentor during that time, and I'm really overwhelmed. I don't have any words right now to share my feelings, sir. Thank you very much for your kind words, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank
Uh,
Yes,
Good morning,
over to you.
participants. Uh, Let us start the session. As you know, that today's topic for the session is teaching aptitude and attitude. And as you know, that in paper one, if you see the syllabus, there is a whole unit on teaching aptitude and attitude. And if you look at the syllabus, we have different topics like concept of teaching, objectives, levels of teaching. There are various levels given, characteristics, basic requirements of teaching. The second point in the syllabus is learners' characteristics and various facets of learners and learning process. The third one is factors affecting teaching related to teacher, learner, support material, instructional facilities, learning environment, and institution. Friends, in today's session, we'll try to cover the first 3 points like teaching, learning, and factors affecting teaching and learning processes. So today's session will be focusing on these three first topics. Now, if you have seen the earlier papers of NET exam, and if you have seen some of the videos related with teaching aptitude and attitude, uh, every year in paper one, generally there are 5-6 questions covering these three topics, like covering these three areas: teaching, learning, and factors affecting teaching. Now, the difficulty level of this particular teaching or learning area varies from year to year. Sometimes there are very easy questions. Sometimes you need to comprehend, analyze the questions given there, and then you have to answer. So, in order to answer all the questions very confidently regarding teaching and learning, we need to understand, first of all, the concept of teaching. Now, let us go topic wise. Like, let us take the first concept: teaching. Right. Now, there is a saying in English that to teach means to learn twice. I am repeating the saying: to teach means to learn twice. Right. So, in order to teach something, the person or the individual has to learn the content twice. So, teaching is something very difficult, or it requires some more skills on the part of the individual. Now, let us focus on the meaning of teaching. What do we understand by the term teaching? When we say I'm teaching something, or I'm instructing someone, it means that we are imparting some kind of knowledge, some kind of information regarding a subject or a skill. Now, when we impart knowledge regarding a subject or a skill, in order to impart knowledge, or in order to share our ideas, opinions, views on a particular subject, we need to master the content. Unless and until we ourselves are not clear, we cannot proceed further. So, in other words, it is said that it is the process of flow of ideas. Now, if you look at the screen, I hope that the screen is visible to all. Is the screen visible?
No.
Yes, can anybody reply me? Is the screen visible?
No, you are visible, but if something is written, then it is not visible.
Okay, okay, yes, I'll try. Is it visible
Yes,
now?
now it is visible. Now it is visible.
Okay, okay. Right. Okay, is it visible now?
Yes.
Okay. So as we understood the concept or the meaning of teaching, it means to instruct someone or to impart knowledge regarding a subject or a skill. Now, when we talk about teaching, it needs three qualities. That is knowledge, communication skills, and aptitude. The whole section is devoted to aptitude. It means we need to understand the meaning of aptitude. What is the meaning of aptitude? If we refer to the simplest definition of aptitude, it means it is the ability to do something. Teaching aptitude means the tendency to teach. Questions based on teaching aptitude relate to different aspects of teaching, and it tests the ability of a candidate to teach. So in this particular section in the question paper, there will be questions which tries to measure the tendency of the candidate to teach, or various questions related to teaching aptitude. Different aspects of teaching learning processes are asked, and which kind of decisions as a teacher will you take in the classroom or in your practice teaching sessions. Now, with this idea of aptitude, or with this idea of teaching aptitude, let us go ahead and talk about different levels of teaching. Now, if you see in the syllabus, they have clearly mentioned 3 levels of teaching. The first level is memory level of teaching. We'll see all the 3 levels one by one. The first is memory level of teaching. The second one is understanding level of teaching. And the third one is reflective level of teaching. There will be questions related with these 3 levels, understanding your comprehension of these 3 levels of teaching. Now, if we talk about the main proponent of memory level of teaching, Herbert is the person who has contributed a lot regarding the memory level of teaching. This is the initial level of teaching and prerequisite for understanding and reflective levels of teaching. This is the very basic level of teaching. Here, in this phase, we include learning, retaining, recalling, and recognizing. For this particular level of teaching, retaining, recalling, and recognizing of the content or the instructional material, it is the basic requirement. At this level, the teacher focuses on memorization of facts and information by learners. Okay, so here the teacher's duty is giving drills or a kind of memorization techniques to the learners, so that the learners can remember facts and information. There is no attention on understanding of information, procedures, and concepts. Now, the habit of rote learning. Rote learning is something that you cram something or that you memorize something. So the habit of rote learning is developed at this stage, so that the learners can retain and recall the information whenever required. If you remember our primary school days, our teachers used to give us practice for rote learning. Like we have learned a number of things like tables, okay, or alphabet. We used to repeat the words or the poems after the teacher. The teacher used to recite the poems, alphabet, or tables with a loud voice, and we used to repeat after them. In that manner, we used to cram or memorize the thing. So this is the very basic level of teaching. In primary classes, particularly when the learners are very in their very young age, they have just started the schooling. At that level, memory level of teaching is needed. Teachers used to apply various techniques like drills or substitution tables, some kind of exercises like this for making students learn things. Teachers occupy the primary position with their authoritarian or dominant role, while the learners occupy the secondary position. See, friends, nowadays we talk about participatory learning. At present, at every level, starting from KG to PG level, learners' participation is important or learners' participation is emphasized. Nowadays, teacher-centered class is replaced by learner-centered class. But at the primary level, where students need to memorize certain facts, or when students are at the initial level of learning, teacher-centered class is emphasized. So memory level teaching emphasized teacher-centered class or subject-centered class. Here, teacher occupies the prominent position. Teacher is the king of the class, we can say. And it is his duty to offer content, to offer instructional material. Learners will receive it. They will receive it, retain it, recall it through various types of drills or other exercises. So, this is the very basic level of teaching. And it is the prerequisite for understanding level of teaching and reflective level of teaching. Now, after the first level, let us proceed and let us go to the second level. The second level of teaching, as you can see on the screen, is understanding level of teaching. Now, as Herbert was the main proponent of memory level of teaching, here Morrison was the main person associated with understanding level of teaching. Here we can say that this level is the extension of memory level. It also lays the foundation for reflective level. Now see, friends, the memory level of teaching focused only on rote memorization of concepts. Okay? At the memory level of teaching, learners' contribution was not that much important because learners are expected to memorize the concepts, or it was a kind of rote memory of concepts. While at the second stage, that means at the understanding level, mastery of the subjects by developing understanding and insights is emphasized. Here, along with the teacher, the learner's efforts or the learner's activeness is also important, because here mastery of the subject by developing understanding and insight is emphasized. At this level, if you see the third point here, at this level, learners get to know about the meaning of concepts, generalizations, principles, and theories along with their applications. Now, see, here we need to understand the difference between the memory level and understanding level. In memory level, it is possible that without sometimes comprehending or without comprehending or without realizing sometime, the learners can cram the content. But here at the understanding level, the learners have to understand the theory or understand the principle or generalizations made on some observations, and along with it, they have to apply their knowledge. This is the basic difference: knowing the things and applying your knowledge. Here, application of your knowledge is more emphasized. You know the fact. Now, when it comes to practical life, you have to apply your knowledge. You know all the steps of swimming, for example. You know all the theory regarding swimming. But when you really jump into the water, and then you have to apply the rules of your knowledge. That is called application of your knowledge. So memory is something easy, but when it comes to application of your knowledge, you need a sound understanding and the ways of applying your knowledge. So in that way, here, any topic related with the understanding level or any question related with the understanding level, you need to keep in mind one point, that at memory level, cramming, memorizing, or a kind of rote memory is okay. But when you move ahead with the next level, with the next phase, at the understanding level, you need to apply your knowledge. So here we can say that teachers and learners both play an active role in the development of intellectual behavior in the learners. So in the memory level, teachers are active, learners may or may not be passive. But here at the understanding level, teachers and learners both play an active role in the development of intellectual behavior. Now the question is, which techniques are used? Techniques used here are teacher-centered and subject-centered. Yes, teacher has more knowledge here. He knows how to apply facts or how to apply rules to practical life. So he will show the way here. So teacher-centered and subject-centered techniques. More comprehensive techniques like essay and objective type questions are used for evaluation at the understanding level. Here, LEVEL, you should read it. More comprehensive techniques are given here for developing this skill. Now, first one was memory, second one was understanding level. Now, let us go to the third one, or the third level. The third level of teaching, is reflective level. Now, here the proponent of this level, or the person who has contributed more for explaining this level, is Hunt. It is the highest level of teaching and make use of knowledge and research skills of learners for solving real life problems. It involves the use of problem-centric approach. Now friends, classroom environment is open and independent at this level of teaching. See, when we understand the term reflective level, reflection is something which is associated with our thinking process. We do certain work, and after the work gets over, we reflect on our work, or we reflect on the steps through which we have carried out the work. We ask questions to ourselves that was it done like this? Or could it be done in a better way? Okay? What could have happened if I have done this? Some kind of reflection or some kind of reflective questions we ask ourselves. On the basis of that, we determine our further actions or our future actions. So here it is said that classroom environment is open and independent at this level of teaching. It also leads to the development of creative skills. For example, suppose a teacher is teaching a story and the end is not revealed to the learners. The learners are asked questions like what will happen at the end, or what could have happened if the person is not doing this, or what would you do in this kind of situation. So learners are asked to think on a particular beginning or on a particular end. In this way, they are encouraged to reflect on a particular situation, and this is how it helps in developing their creative skills and thinking skills. Here at this level of teaching, learners occupy the primary position and participate actively in learning, while teachers play democratic role occupying the secondary position. This is somewhat different from the memory level. At the memory level of teaching, the teacher was dominant. Here, at the reflective level of teaching, the students are at the center and the teachers are on the periphery. As I said earlier, the techniques used are here student-centered techniques. It means uh, uh, teachers ask questions to the students. Teachers give pair work, group work. They discuss something in the group. Then the group report to the class. The class give their opinion regarding the views presented. So here students are more active. They take part in discussion. They offer their views. They pass judgment. They offer their critical comments. So here in this particular level, teachers create opportunity to think. Teachers create opportunity so that the students can learn. As memory level was the level where primary students or primary level students can memorize something. This particular level, reflective level, it is useful for higher classes, as students of lower classes might not possess the requisite skills. So particularly as a teacher, we should be careful that uh, while asking questions of reflection, it should be given to students of higher classes, like 10th standard students, 11, 12, or higher education, college or PG students. We can have questions for reflective level. Tests with essay type questions are used for evaluation at this level. And also there is evaluation of attitude, beliefs, involvement in learning, and development of critical and creative skills. Now, friends, if you have seen earlier papers, there are questions like which of the following level of teaching involves questions like uh, development of critical and critical thinkings, or which of the level of teaching evaluate learners' attitudes and beliefs. At that time, you should be very clear that reflective level emphasizes reflection on the part of the learner, and thereby learners can exhibit their attitudes and beliefs. So this is the level where uh, uh, learners attitudes and beliefs or their creative skills as well as critical skills are also developed. So friends, here we have understood the concept of teaching, that is imparting knowledge, sharing views, opinions, uh, beliefs, and uh, three levels: memory, understanding, and reflecting level. Now, before we proceed, if you have any questions regarding these three levels, you can ask me, then we'll proceed further. Yes. Any of the participants have any question regarding these three levels? Yes. Shall we move ahead with the next component? You
Yes,
can
ma'am.
ask me question in chat box also, no problem. Okay. So let us move ahead, friends. Right, friends. Now, in the syllabus, it is also given that the kind of nature or characteristics of teaching. There can be questions related with this. Teaching is a science. It is both. It is a science as well as an art. Teaching is a complex activity. Now, friends, see, why is it called a complex activity? As we see, teaching is a set of skills. Okay? There are total 22 sub skills of teaching. If you master these skills, you can be a good teacher. It is not mentioned on the screen, but if you have a pen and paper with you, you can jot down some of the skills which are the part of the whole umbrella of teaching skill. You can jot down in your notebook. See, Professor B.K. Pasi, in his book Becoming a Teacher, there are 22 skills mentioned, which are the skills of teaching. If you master these 22 skills, uh, you can be a good teacher or you can be a good classroom practitioner. So, which are these? When I'm not remembering all the 22 skills, but I'll give you the major skills out of these 22 skills. At the Teacher Education College, students are given practice to master these skills so that they can be a good classroom teacher. Okay? The first one is stimulus variation skill. Stimulus variation skill is it gives you confidence to stand before the class. It gives you confidence how to present your content, how to use your teaching aids, how to interact with your students, how to be a confident teacher, how to give a confident posture before your students, how to maintain your eye contact with the group, how to give pair work and group work to your class. Okay? So the first basic skill is stimulus variation skill. I'm giving sub skills of teaching. As we are referring the third point here. Teaching is a complex activity. Why it is, although it is not complex in that sense, but you need to master a number of skills in order to be a good teacher. Teaching itself is a wide, wide term. It includes a number of skills, major and minor skills. So we are referring here skills involved in teaching, right? So the first one is stimulus variation skill. The second one is questioning skill. Questioning skill, this is the first weapon in the hands of a teacher. You need to ask uh, good questions so that it can trigger learners' thinking. in computer science, we have a term like garbage in, garbage out. Okay? आप अगर कूड़ा डालोगे तो कूड़ा या कचरा ही बाहर आएगा. The same applies to our process of asking questions. As a teacher, you need to master questioning skill, because the kind of questions you will ask to your learners, it will trigger the thinking process. It will trigger their thinking skills, and similarly, they will answer your questions. So, questioning skill. The third one is probing questions. Questions which are asked as probing questions. What are probing questions? That suppose you have asked one question to your students. Students have answered your question. Now from that answer, you are deriving some more questions, some more deep questions. And once again, students are expected to think. So that is questioning or questions that are asked as a probing questions. The third one is reinforcement skill. Reinforcement is giving encouragement or inspiration to your students. Using Blackboard, that is also a skill. Giving illustration is also a skill. You can write illustration skills or giving examples. The next one is attending behavior of the students. Suppose you are teaching in a class of 100. The front benchers are very attentive. They are listening, they are comprehending. But there are some 2-3 students who are in the class, and you are noticing their behavior which is deviating. Okay? So as a teacher, your first duty is you have to attend the behavior or the deviating behavior of the students. So you have to join them in your interaction. So that is also a skill. Okay? You don't have to let go, or you don't have to ignore that student or that individual. You have to make attempts so that that particular student or a group of students will involved in your classroom. Right? So attending behaviors of the students. Blackboard writing skill, that is also a skill. Now, skill of explanation. How you explain a particular point. What kind of statements, what kind of examples you are quoting, what kind of referencing you are giving to your students. That is also a skill. Sometimes your students give very good answers, which is beyond your imagination. You have expected a common answer from your students, but students give extraordinary answer. At that time, you give them reinforcement, or you give them inspiration through words like excellent answer, wonderful, very good, yes, this was the answer which I was waiting for, something like this. Okay, so skill of reinforcement is also necessary. As a teacher, sometimes you have to take on the spot decision. You have planned your classroom work, but there is something which is on the spot, and at that time you have to take on the spot decision regarding students, regarding your pattern of teaching, regarding discussion pattern, or regarding instructional material which you are using. So on the spot decision is also skill which is required from a teacher. So as a result, we can say that teaching requires a mastery of number of skills, and that is why it is a craft, it is a moral activity as well. Okay? A teacher needs to be an objective person in his evaluation, in his teaching. Being an individual or being a human, he should keep in mind this particular point while dealing with the students. Fine. So this is in broad term nature and characteristics of teaching. Now, the next component for teaching is basic requirements of teaching. Now, as a teacher, when you come across your teaching material, when you meet your students in the classroom, you need to use different methods, different strategies, different teaching aids, different kinds of learning materials, which acts as intervening variables. Now, let us first of all talk about this different methods of teaching. Most of the time in Indian setup, the most popular method is teacher giving or using lecture method. Teacher has some content, mastery over some content, and he is imparting or he is sharing this content through lecture method. Teacher is speaking, the students are listening. For a question answer session, the teacher can also use methods like seminar method or project method. Okay? In seminar method, the students are given topics. They have to search or they have to read reference material. They have to search on net. They collect material. They organize the material. They synthesize the material and they present before the class. The group, the peer group listen to the presentation and then they offer their critical comments or judgments. That is seminar method. Project method, generally it is used in social sciences, like for example in history or in other methods. Exhibition is organized, for example Rani Ki Vav. This is the historical place, heritage place. Some pictures, some videos, some PowerPoint presentation. A room is located and every material is displayed regarding this historical place in that room. The students are given some questions as their project. They have to visit this exhibition. They have to read the information. They have to understand, comprehend the material which is exhibited there in the room, and then they have to ponder over the project questions given to them by the teacher, and then they have to present a report. So project method is also very much useful for social sciences or a subject like history, and laboratory methods are also available in fields like science. In science, there are some experiments. In the school level also, they have science lab where students perform experiment, come with the results and discuss with the teacher. So seminar method, project method, laboratory method, and lecture method. These are major methods used by the teacher for their teaching. Some strategies are also given, as we have already said that teacher can give pair work. Pair work is something like two students are given one topic. They have to work on the particular topic and report their work to the class. Group work is one technique or strategy. Pair work, sometimes some work based on pictures, cue cards, These are some of the techniques or strategies used by the teachers. Teaching aids. This is one major area. Nowadays, teachers are very well versed with PowerPoint presentations or video lectures. Uh, Here in schools also, we have now smart classes available where teachers can present their material, can save their material in the computers, and students can receive the material at their own pace. So, basic requirement is a teacher should be well versed in different methods, strategies, and using different teaching aids and learning materials according to the level of the learner. Now we can say that the classroom activity facilitates learning and helps students retain information for a longer period of time. Knowledge of teaching methods, effects of teaching, principles of teaching, knowledge of subject, knowledge of nature of students, etc. are also required for effective teaching. Right? So, friends, when we talk about basic requirements of teaching or basic principles of teaching, uh, we should be very clear that a teacher has to master different methods, different strategies, and different teaching aids and learning materials for giving or sharing knowledge with the students. Now, with the advance of technology and science, we have AI, artificial intelligence, in the field of uh, teaching. So, in this particular syllabus unit number titled as Teaching Aptitude, the next component are for MOOC and portals like Swayam Prabha. There, you may have some more understanding about latest teaching aids or latest technological devices which teachers can use in teaching. This up to now we have covered concept of teaching, 3 levels of teaching, characteristics of teaching, and basic requirements for a teacher or for teaching skills. Okay? Do you have any questions regarding these points? Afterwards, we'll proceed with the next phase. If you have any questions, friends, you can ask me. See, I have seen a number of PDF on the net wherein we have ready-made questions regarding teaching aptitude. Okay? One question is given, one situation is given, and 3 or 4 options are given regarding this point. But after reading all the questions, I came to the conclusion that if you are very well, if you understand the concept of teaching and learning in detail, then only you can answer those questions. My understanding is that particular for this teaching aptitude portion, but for particularly this section, the questions are somewhat very easy. If you understand this concept, teaching and learning in detail, then from the situation and from the answers itself, you can get the clue that yes, this can be the right answer. From the answers, you can get the hint that this can be the right answer because you have the theory of teaching and learning very clear. Okay, so friends, we have right now 15 participants. If you have any questions, you can write in the chat box also. Okay, friends, now let us move ahead and we take the next phase, maxims of teaching. Okay? See, there are different maxims. When a teacher starts teaching, the teacher will follow the following maxims or the following principles for teaching something. The teacher cannot start immediately with the difficult content. Okay, so here on the screen, I have presented certain maxims of teaching, which you can see. We'll try to understand it one by one. Yes. Now here you can see the questions related how to teach, or in other words, we can say maxims of teaching. The first maxim or the first principle of teaching is simple to complex. The teacher will start with the simple content, and then he will move forward to complex content. So this will focus on simple to complex, like from primary level. The simple question like, when was Gandhiji born? Okay. Questions based on knowledge. When was Gandhiji born? Or which is the national bird or animal or flower of India? Now this can be asked in standard 5th. From simple content to complex content. When was Gandhiji born? Why was Gandhiji called the father of nation? Or why Vallabhbhai Patel was given the title of Sardar? Okay. This question cannot be asked in like standard 1, 2, 3, or the upper primary level. Questions which needs thinking, that can be asked at a later stage. So from simple to complex, from known to unknown, okay? From known to unknown content. Teacher and our textbooks are designed in such a way. Something which is unfamiliar, something which is abstract for the students will not come automatically. Our textbooks are designed, our instructional materials are designed in such a way that if the child gets admission in standard first or in primary school, first he will learn simpler content, simpler facts, simpler information, and then onwards, as he move forward in his studies, he will come to know later difficult concepts or advanced concepts. So from known to unknown. The third maxim is from seen to unseen. From seen objects to unseen objects. From living to abstract. Then the next one is from concrete to abstract facts, from particular to general information or general concepts, from empirical knowledge to rational knowledge. So these are in simple ways maxims of teaching, and questions related with this can be asked in the form of a situation. That suppose you are at, there can be situations also in the question, that suppose you are a teacher at 12th class, okay, and you have to give information or you have to teach a concept like this. Which particular maxim will you follow? So depending upon the situation, you have to select the maxim. Okay. For higher classes, we go for more higher version of maxim. For lower classes or for primary level, we use simpler maxims of teaching. Now here in the caption, I have written something like, as we know that in our country, 5th September is celebrated as the Teachers' Day, but world, sometimes it can be asked that World Teachers' Day is celebrated every year on 5th October. It can be useful for you. Yes. Is someone speaking? Do you have any question regarding this? Dharmesh bhai, do you want to say something? Okay, fine. So friends, here we have completed the first portion regarding. Yes, Dharmesh bhai, you want to say something?
No, ma'am, all is clear.
Okay, fine. So may I proceed with the learning phase or the learning component? Yes. Okay, so friends, we have seen the concept of teaching, maxims, level, principles of teaching. Now let us move to the second topic that is related with learning process, and the third in that, factors affecting teaching learning process. Let us see the screen and discuss. See, friends, if you see the syllabus, learners' characteristics are given with the titles like personal characteristics, academic characteristics, social or emotional characteristics, cognitive characteristics. These 4 characteristics are given in your syllabus. And in paper 1, there will be 1 or 2 questions related with learner and learning process. Okay, so before talking about this particular table, I would like to focus on types of learners, which is not mentioned there in the screen, but there are 3 types of learners. The first one is audio learners, or learners who learn through their auditory system. The second one is visual learners. Visual learners learn in a better way through watching visuals. Like, see, auditory learners means, or audio learners, auditory learners means, I'm speaking, you are listening to me, you are listening very attentively, and you remember the facts, you comprehend the information, and you learn something. Whereas visual learners are those who watch visuals, who see pictures, photographs, or some kind of charts, some kind of diagrams, and through their comprehension, they learn through using visuals. Okay? Some of our students are having this practice that they draw something in their notebook, and through their picture they will try to remember the whole story. You have a story or you have a poem, so you build a kind of mind map or concept map, like first this event took place, then this took place, then this third character comes in the story, this was the end, something like this, or some kind of concept mapping or mind mapping. So by looking at that particular chart, you will remember all the story or all the details related with the story. So the first one is learners who learn through their auditory system. The second one is visual learners who can learn in a better way by using graphs, pictures, photos, diagrams, or some kind of images. The third one is kinesthetic learners. Kinesthetic, for kinesthetic we can say kinesthetic learners are those who can learn through like using videos in which both audio is also there and visual is also there. Something which is movable, kinesthetic is, right? So learners who can watch videos and learn something in a better way. So these are the three basic types of learners: audio learners, visual learners, and kinesthetic learners. There can be more types also, but these are the three basic types. Now, on the basis of this, the particular characteristics are given in your as your titles in your syllabus. So let us understand it one by one. The first one is personal characteristics. It includes demographic information of the learners, age of the learners, gender, maturity level, language, socio-economic status, cultural background, etc. Now, these are the characteristics related with the age, gender, maturity, language, and socio-economic status of the learners. Suppose all of you are preparing for NET exam. All of you are freshers. You must have completed your MA recently. So you are preparing for NET. Now, if you take my personal example, I gave my exam in 2003. At that time, my enthusiasm or my clarity of content regarding my subject, that affected my personal characteristic as a learner. Okay? Now at this age, if I have to appear for my exam, NET exam, once again, my maturity, my experience at this present time will also affect my achievement, right? So age, gender, maturity level, language, this will affect learning process. The second one is academic characteristics of the learners. See, what are the academic characteristics? All of you are very, very bright and very promising newcomers for the teaching fraternity, right? You all have your learning goals. If you crack your exam, if you appear in the exam and you get good result, you will have your certain other goals in the same field. Okay, getting a good job. Then after getting the job, you will have some other goals, that now you will do PhD or you will do postdoctoral. You will carry out certain research projects, right? So your academic journey will continue. Okay, it will not stop. So if you are a fresher, you have your all up-to-date knowledge or recent knowledge of your stream, of your yes, I hope am I audible, friends? Friends, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yes. So your learning goals, your prior knowledge at this point of time, you are very well comfortable with your knowledge, with the latest trends in literature in your specific field. So with this academic background, you will appear in your NET exam, and that will certainly help you. The third part or the third major category is social emotional characteristics. Based on the relation of a group or of an individual with the group structure, place of the individual within a group, sociability, self-image, mood, etc. Okay? Some of you must be preparing for your exam in group. You must be sharing with each other your preparation. Like, I have read this is good, you should read this. Some of you may be preparing for the exam individually at home in the library. Okay, you may have your own pattern for learning. Some of you may be reading in the morning. Some of you may be reading in the late night. Okay, some of you may be ready to spend 10 to 12 hours in the library for reading. So it depends on your sociability and your self-image. You may be a person who works individually. You may be a person who has good rapport with the group, maybe reading in the group, maybe preparing in the group for your exam. So it will also affect your learning. And the last one is cognitive characteristics. Cognition is nothing but it is your mental ability, your intellectual ability. Cognition is intelligence. So it determines how the learner perceives, remembers, thinks, solves problems, or organizes and represents information in his or her brain. See, cognition involves everything. We can say that what we are today is because of the major contribution is our cognitive faculty or our cognition. How we perceive things, how we remember things, how our thinking process continues, that helps in solving problems, organizing things, and representing our information. Now, it also includes our attention span, our memory, our mental processes, and our intellectual skills. So when we talk about learners' characteristics, personal is easy to understand, academic is easy to understand, social we know, group or individual preparation. Questions related with cognitive characteristics are generally asked because cognition is the thing where we have lots of processes. In question paper, there can be some situation given or some statement given, and you have to comprehend the statement keeping in mind your processes of cognition. Okay? So it is cognition which is important for any learning process. Okay? Okay. See, now when we talk about cognition, with the previous slide, with this cognitive characteristics, this is the most important phase. So when we talk about cognitive characteristics of any person, we have to remember Dr. Benjamin Bloom. Right? See, remember this name, Dr. Benjamin Bloom. He gave a new vision for teaching. He gave Bloom's taxonomy. He gave a hierarchy of skills or areas which is called Bloom's taxonomy, which focused on understanding, analyzing, and evaluating concepts, principles, and procedure. In 1956, Dr. Benjamin Bloom talked about taxonomy or domains which are very much useful for learning different skills, different attitude, and for the area of knowledge. Now here, he talks about cognitive domain. Please remember, friends, in Bloom's taxonomy, he has given these three domains. Whenever in the question you see Bloom, Dr. Benjamin Bloom, he has given three domains: cognitive domain, psychomotor domain, and affective domain. You don't have to worry much about these two domains. the second domain and the third domain. Okay. Second domain is psychomotor. First, we will talk about second and third domain. Then we will talk about the first domain. See, you will easily answer the questions which are related with Bloom's taxonomy and particularly which are related with psychomotor domain and affective domain, because the questions itself will carry the answer. Psychomotor domain is nothing but it is related with our skills. Psychomotor domain is which different skills can we perform with hands, with our body. For example, we can speak, we can do something, we can cut vegetables, right? Or we can repair a machine, we can repair a mixture in the kitchen. So this is something related with our skill. So skill is psychomotor domain. Affective domain, that is related with attitude or how you react to a situation. For example, a situation is given in the question that it is a winter season and a beggar is resting on the footpath in the cold night. You are passing by it and the beggar was shivering with the chilled atmosphere. You have two overcoats, so you give your one overcoat to the beggar. You empathize with the beggar and you give your overcoat. Okay? Which of the Bloom's taxonomy or which domain from Bloom's taxonomy is reflected here? So easily you can say it is affective domain because you have that attitude of helping the person, helping the needy person. So affective domain, any situation in which we take a decision regarding our attitude or regarding our using our feelings, right? Our heart, that is affective domain. So psychomotor will be easy, affective will be easy. The first one is something which you need to understand. The first one is cognitive domain, which focuses on knowledge. See, this is a very detailed domain. Whatever mental processes or whatever processes our brain is engaged with, it is related with cognitive domain. Friends, if you have time today, you can watch Bloom's taxonomy and the areas or the 6 parts which he has given: knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. I will not be focusing much on this because this you need to look into the figure. आप अपने आप खुद पर जाकर कॉग्निटिव डोमेन में सर्च करिए ब्लूम्स टैक्सोनॉमी कॉग्निटिव डोमेन. There you will find 6 areas. The first one is knowledge. The second one is comprehension. The third one is application. The fourth one is analysis. The fifth one is synthesis. And the sixth one is evaluation. So Bloom has said that we start with knowledge. Knowledge is basic. Then we comprehend something. After comprehending the data, we can apply our knowledge to some situation. By application, we go to analysis. Through analysis, we develop skill of synthesis. And through synthesis, we can come to conclusion or we can reach up to the evaluation. So here in cognitive domain, he has given a whole pyramid kind of diagram, and if time permits, you can see it. So
Deepali ma'am,
yes.
You have last 5 minutes, huh?
Yes, yes, sir.
It's
So
11:40.
Ha,
or
yes.
more than 40?
11:43. So I'll be sharing 2 slides, then I'll be completing.
Okay.
Okay. So friends, for Bloom's taxonomy, you may refer to cognitive domain and the pyramid which he has given. Okay. So friends, the last one is individual differences among the learners. Friends, in the syllabus it is given that all the learners are not same. Their learning style is not same. Their learning pace is not same. Depending upon the certain factors, their learning style and their learning pace varies. So here on the screen, you can see the factors, the third point, the factors which affect teaching learning process. The first one is intelligence, right? Intelligence of the learner, aptitude of the learner, age of the learner, motivation of the learner, personality of the learner, prior knowledge, learning style, attitude, environment, and health. These are the major factors which affect teaching learning processes as well as learning. See, friends, there is a quotation in English that no one can teach anyone. The teacher can create only a facility to make learning happen. Okay? Teacher is a facilitator. Facilitator of which kind? Teacher facilitates learning. Teacher creates facilities in the classroom in such a ways so that learners learn. But it is also a fact that there are individual differences among the learners through which learners learn in different way. We have talked about different learning styles, which you can see. Learning styles of different learners. Similarly, these factors also affect the learning as well as the whole teaching learning process. Right? So, intelligence or cognition, age, motivation, all these points are very easy, and you can read some of the points on your own also. Prior knowledge, this is easily comprehensible. So questions related with it can be asked under this umbrella, that individual differences. Which among the following is more important? Or situation is given and the factor is given, you have to match situation with the factor. Friends, you must be reading some online PDFs for teaching aptitude and attitude. Some online videos are also available. So for more reference regarding this theory, you can read and elaborate. So friends, with this, I stop my presentation. And if you have any questions regarding this, you can ask me. Okay, so
Yes, any questions from student participants? It seems they have no question because we have no ELT, and they must be listening to this kind of lecture for the first time. Okay, so on behalf of the department, my personal behalf, and my colleagues, on the behalf of my colleagues, I thank you for sparing your valuable time. And let's hope that we meet someday,
yes,
and
sir,
invite you
definitely.
here
Thank you,
to
sir.
speak on some subject. Okay, because madam is very open.
Yes.
So she welcomes all teachers. So let's hope someday
Okay,
we can
thank you
arrange
very
some
much, sir.
lecture or something like that.
Yes, yes, sir. It would be my
Because
pleasure,
this,
sir, to visit my department.
sure.
Thank
Okay,
you, sir.
thank you
Thank
very
you very
much.
much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you,
And
participants.
Sunil Bhai has come.
Okay.
I saw his
So, sir,
name
can
here.
I leave the meeting now?
Yes, yes,
Okay. Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, hello, Dipali ma'am.
हाँ, नमस्ते नमस्ते श्रवण।
Namaste, namaste.
Thank you. હવે સુનિલભાઈનું કરી લઈએ. અહીંયા ક્યાંક હતા આ રહ્યા.
Just a moment, sir. My video is not there. Hello. Can you see me, sir, there?
No.
Okay. I think I'll have to leave and join again. Give me.
Okay. No problem. No problem. So તમારે કઈ ખબર અંતર પૂછું કેમ છો બધા? Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
I don't know
Hello,
why.
video is not coming.
I don't know why.
Take your time, don't worry.
Yeah.
That we need to pay.
Oh, this technology.
Bear with us. Sunil Bhai will join. Yes, now
Yes, yes.
he is visible. Visible.
It
Yes.
is better. Yes, sir.
Yes. So yesterday he engaged us, and today he will continue. Today he will talk about approaches to language teaching.
Yeah. And some
Okay.
methods as well. Yeah.
Sure, sure, sure. So over to you.
Yeah. Just I have shared my screen if you can see it.
Yes, ELT methods and approaches.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Yesterday we discussed about ELT methods and approaches. We talked about history from Greek and Latin and how uh, methods and approaches were adapted for teaching modern languages like English, German, French, and other languages. We talked about the grammar translation method, direct method, and then we talked about what is difference between approach methods and techniques. So you'll have to read more on this because there is a thin line of bifurcation when we talk of approaches and methods because sometimes they are used simultaneously. And as eclectic approach talks about taking good points from all the methods to combine one approach which suits your students. So this is what we discussed. I'll briefly tell you about grammar translation method. Emphasis on translation, grammar rules, vocabulary list. Okay, the focus was more on reading and writing as compared to speaking and listening. So we understand that the needs during the beginning of 20th century, okay, were different. And accordingly, the methods used during those times existed. So the focus was on reading and writing and not on speaking and listening. And today we are talking more of oral communication, communicative competence, being able to communicate in real life situation. Okay. So with grammar translation method, that was a problem. Traditional and academic approach, contributors we have discussed yesterday. The keeping in mind net ITSLET, there is very important section of ELT where all these sections, you'll have questions from all these sections related to language in use, methods and approaches. Earlier, Dr. Dipali was talking about aptitude, different types of tests, all that has been covered. So the portion as compared to literature questions will be less. But having said that, the importance of ELT portion doesn't, get less. It is equally important. So it may happen that in your MA in literature, you might not have opted for ELT as elective. That's okay. There are books available. There are classes organized, like one which you are attending right now. Apart from that, you will have to do that reading part. Okay, from the books which I have already discussed yesterday, Larson and Freeman and Richards and Rogers. So characteristics, grammar taught deductively, little use of target language in the class, and that is the problem. Literary texts are often the main source, because earlier it was, if you study ELT, right, globally and ELT in India, earlier it was taught that when you read, if you want to know English, you have to read literary text. But gradually that focus has been shifted from literature to language itself. Okay, and therefore the changes in various methods and approaches have occurred over a period of time. Uh, Teacher-centered approach, that was the problem again. The classes were teacher-centered. Memorization was given importance rather than the practical approach and grammatical rules and vocabulary. So all this was criticized, where emphasis was not on speaking and listening. Okay, and often the classes were boring for students and irrelevant to the real world language. So anything like students nowadays, and even across various subjects, what is the real world usage in terms of language or other requirements of the society? That is what students enjoy learning in the classroom, and limited student interaction. So when we talk about LSRW, listening and speaking starts first. Okay, so when you listen to things, one fine day you start speaking. But here the approach was totally different. It was different. It was, I would say, reverse. Like they started with grammar, they started with writing. Okay, direct method again was the result of what happened to grammar translation method. Emphasis was given on oral skill and immersion, but again, uh, there was no students' native language was not allowed. Teaching through conversations and direct associations. Okay, Charles Berlitz and Maxi Milne Berlitz, they were the contributors among others, right? The the grammar translation method, grammar was taught deductively. Here, grammar was taught inductively. Vocabulary taught through demonstration and context. Then focus was on again everyday spoken language, immediate correction of errors, use of visual aids, realia. That was the focus of direct method. Again, criticisms in terms of why that people started thinking of new methods as compared to direct method was it required high proficient teachers, can be different, can be difficult to implement in large classrooms, obviously. Now you'll have to understand that when we talk about language teaching and all these theories and methods that developed in the West, where the classroom size were comparatively smaller than what we have today, if we are talking about the context of our country. So again, as teachers, will have to think a lot of adapting the appropriate approach, appropriate method which suits our classroom. Okay. As far as theoretical knowledge, we should be aware of all the methods and approaches. But again, they have been tried out at a different level in different country with different students. So that is what needs to be considered. Can be difficult to implement in large classrooms and may not address writing skills sufficiently. So this was what was observed when it came to direct method. Let's move on to the today's our today's discussion, that is oral approach and situational language teaching. This came after direct method. This was developed by British applied linguists somewhere around 1930s and 1960s, and the development was dynamic in nature. Okay, as I said yesterday also, nothing is constant but change. People were talking about change. People were talking about how students are going to learn in a better way. Students, how the classroom should be organized, that the students learn and actual learning happens in the classroom. Okay, so example of text and materials, streamline English, access to English, this were produced. So all these names are important for you, keeping in mind the preparation for NET and SLET, because they may appear in terms of MCQ questions from this section of ELT. Origin of this was work of Harold Palmer, Hornby, all of you are aware of. Influences were again grammar translation method and direct method. Okay. The idea was to develop a scientific foundation for an oral approach, which somewhere direct method was not able to provide. Okay. It was focusing on real life communication, but there were some loopholes which were addressed by uh, the situational language teaching. Here, importance was recognized as crucial for foreign language learning, large-scale vocabulary uh, investigations, okay, in 1920 and 1930, principles of vocabulary control and frequency count. Okay, so these were the outcomes of tryout. If we talk about grammar, grammar here was basic grammatical patterns and structures were focused, classroom methods, classroom procedures for teaching grammar orally, okay, rather than rote memory or drill. So contributions in terms of classification of English sentence patterns that took place, the Advanced Learner Dictionary of Current English, influential grammar text by Palmer and Hornby, among others. Okay, so this is how it led to this development. If you look at the key principles of situational language teaching, oral first, spoken language was given importance before the written form. Target language was used exclusively in the real classroom situation. Okay, language points introduce and practice in context, essential general service vocabulary covered. Okay, and it was ensured that the passive vocabulary was used in form of the active vocabulary. So more vocabulary they used in day-to-day communication, that was emphasized. Simple forms in terms of gradation, simple to complex things. Okay, which was not the case with grammar translation method as such. Reading and writing introduced after a solid lexical and grammatical foundation. In any method or approach, when it comes to language teaching and learning, a solid foundation is required. Otherwise, what happens is the building which is built on a weak foundation again becomes weak. So this is applicable to methods and approaches as well. Uh, the distinction was sometimes, as I said earlier, there is a thin line. There is a thin line between various methods, but the more you read, you'll get the clarity of how it is distinct from earlier method. It was distinct from earlier methods. It is not to be confused with direct method. It is different in a way. Again, dominant British approach by 1950s, situational language teaching. This were the people, Pittman and other colleagues, okay? And accordingly, materials came into uh, the field of education based on situational language teaching. If we look at the approach and theory, yesterday we talked about structuralism, okay, and then basis of language, structural center to speaking ability. Structure was central to speaking ability. The one enhancement of speaking ability was given priority. Structures linked to real life context, okay, and then a learning theory, behaviorism was again used a bit, habit learning theory, okay. Again, the process part was also given importance, not completely behaviorism, because if we talk of behaviorism, it only talks about input and output. It doesn't talk of process, okay. But here process was also given importance, receiving knowledge, repetition, practice, these things were considered important. And as compared to grammar translation method where deductive approach was used, here inductive learning and practice was given. Grammar was taught through usage, not explanation, real life usage. Meaning derived from situational use, okay, applying uh, learned language to applying the learned new language to a new situation that was given priority. And as we say that language acquisition, how a child learns language, okay, it is always listening, speaking, reading, writing. Similar process was adapted here. That brings us to the next uh, uh, topic of our discussion, the audiolingual. Okay, the audiolingual method. Now, as I said earlier, world wars were also, along with communication, business that was developing. Along with that, simultaneously, you all are aware of World War One and World War Two, and there was a need for people to communicate. Okay, so audiolingual method, sometimes it is also called the army method. Okay, an oral based approach to language learning. Again, it also highlighted on oral proficiency as the earlier method which we discussed. So there are a few thin lines of things which were not implemented in some points which were not implemented in earlier method. This method took that. Again, it was influenced by structuralism and behaviorism. Identify the grammatical structures and basic patterns of language. Practice these patterns in semantic attention to pronunciation and intensive oral drilling. Okay, when we talk of drilling, okay, you remember behaviorism. So this is what influenced audiolingual method, but again, it was developed. There were changes made. It was developed further. New materials were presented to students in dialogue form. There was again dependence on mimicry, memorization of set phrases, and overlearning. By constant repetition, the learner developed habit. Learning, language learning are not accepted, but they they lead to development of bad habits. That is what it was thought by people who were implementing this. Role of teacher here, okay, in terms of language development. So there is little or no grammatical explanation. Grammar was taught inductively, and gradually, once the base of the language is developed, as I said earlier, detailed explanation of grammatical terms can be provided. Great importance is attached to pronunciation. Very little use of mother tongue by teachers are reinforced, and there is great effort to get students to produce error-free utterances. Uh, so this is what nowadays we are talking of form, meaning, right? So when we talk about language development in general, we feel that meaning should come first and form will come later. Okay, so if there is meaning in what a particular student is saying, form will come gradually. So that has to be understood. That sequence has to be understood. So in nutshell, audiolingual method is based on behaviorist theory and habit formation. Again, use of repetitive drills. Oral practice was there, but again, repetitive drills were there. Skinner, as you all are aware, he contributed to behaviorist theory, and this was audiolingual method was inspired by that. Charles Fry's characteristics of audiolingual method was mimicry, memorization, focus on pronunciation, pattern drills, immediate correction, pattern practice, approaches to a structural approach to language. And criticism was again overemphasis on drills, and sometimes that drills can become monotonous. Limited attention was again given to meaning and context. That was the negative part, and does not promote creative language use. So this led to further development of the designer methods. Okay, humanistic approaches, where again the focus was shifting from teacher-centered classes to learner-centered classes, like around 1970s, 80s. This was, if you talk about humanistic approaches, psychology comes into focus, how students are going to learn, what they like, how they can learn language in a better and faster way. So psychology comes into focus here. It was designer methods were influenced by psychology, psychotherapy developed in 70s, 80s, mainly in US. Okay, so in terms of experiments done with language teaching, there are people who have contributed. For example, we'll discuss that N.S. Prabhu and others, but that comes in the later part of the century. But earlier, when we study methods and approaches, it is all research done by linguists in UK and US. Okay, so humanistic approaches include the silent way, total physical response, suggestopedia, community language learning, among others, which we are now going to gradually discuss them one by one. Silent way, this is a name which you should remember, Caleb Gatineau. He was basically a mathematician, and when it comes to the silent way, he is often remembered. Teaching, according to him, teaching is subordinate to learning. Okay, he talked about problem solving approach. He talks about develops independence and autonomy and encourages students to cooperate with each other. Okay, so that is what we discuss when it comes to behaviorism, cognitivism, and socio-cognitivism. So cognitivism is about input, process, and output, right? And but again, communication, cooperation with others is not discussed. One thing which you have to remember is zone of proximal development, which we'll be discussing probably later. which talks about the ability zone of proximal development is the gap which students can uh, achieve by learning individually, and the uh, the achievement done by learning individually plus discussing with other peer members, teachers. Okay, so that gap is called zone of proximal development. So learning is facilitated if learner discovers or creates rather than remembers, and that is the best part of this method. And it is accompanying by mediating, okay, or physical objects, by problem solving materials to be learned. So it is like learning by doing, by experimenting. So just this is what he developed. It was each color here symbolizes one sound, okay, related to a particular word. So that is how they started associating this chart with the sound, and gradually they were taken into that, the connection was established, and they were taken into the world of language learning. Here, this sound chart, how it was used. The teacher refers students to a color-coded wall chart depicting individual sounds in the target language. Students use this to point out and build words with correct pronunciations. So this was a very salient feature of the silent method. Now, why teacher is silent here? I am not silent because this is not two-way communication. We'll have interaction later. But right now, we are not having interaction, okay, point by point. So generally, this 45 minutes or 1 hour will be teacher-centered in terms of what I'm telling you. Later on, there can be discussion. Why teacher is silent here? Teacher is generally silent, only giving help when it is absolutely necessary. And even in life, we understand the more help, giving help when required is okay, but pampering, okay, it doesn't help. I'm talking of life. Same is the case with language teaching. Okay, students, we should allow students to learn things on their own rather than, you know, showering them with things sometimes which they are not ready to adapt. Okay, so peer correction, students encouraged to help each other. So cooperative and competitive spirit was developed. So this were self-correction gestures. Teacher uses hands to indicate that something is incorrect or needs changing. So that is how the silent teacher was actually playing a very important role when it comes to this method. So word chart and other fiddle chart, a chart that is color coded according to sounds colors, okay, but includes the various English spellings so that they can directly relate with actual sounds. Okay, so that is how the silent method was adopted by teachers. Again, it promotes students' autonomy, which is the most important thing. Nowadays, we are talking of students' autonomy. We want students to be on their own, learn and develop problem solving skills, how to solve a particular problem when they are in a difficult situation. Minimum teacher intervention. Okay, so like nowadays there are different words used for teacher, from facilitator to friend, philosopher, guide. Okay, so different words are used for teachers. But again, if you look at the traditional usage of the word teacher, okay, nowadays people are more into using facilitator, teacher. They facilitate things. Uh, uh, so Caleb Getnu is the contributor here. Color charts, pronunciation, cognitive engagement. The process part was given importance. Encourages self-correction, learning through discovery, quiet classroom environment, but they were able to speak when they were required to. can be too demanding criticism in terms of why people were talking about other, like this is working, the silent way is working, but these are the problems. Can be too demanding for some learners, requires significant teacher training and skill. Okay, so teacher training again is one of the important aspect of our discussion. This is after you clear your net and slate when you'll become faculty members. Okay, these are issues which you are also going to face. Okay, limited emphasis on communication and interaction. So the real life communication. So these were some loopholes, which further led to other humanistic approach like Suggestopedia. Okay, so the name associated here again 1970s. Okay, Georgi Lozano. Okay, Lozano. He suggests that human brain could process great quantities of material if simply given the right condition for learning. So he's talking about the right conditions for learning, among which are a state of relaxation and giving over the control of the teacher. Okay, he suggests that music here now we are talking of multitasking in a sense. He talks about music is central to this method. Okay, indicates that method transcends the language classroom, can be applied in other school subjects. Okay, not only second language or foreign language learning, but other subjects as well. That is what he is claiming, and claims that about 200 to 240 words may be introduced. Okay, but the background which he is suggesting is music. Okay, uh, learning is facilitated in an environment that is as comfortable as possible. So comfort level of students is important, as it is Suggestopedia, featuring soft cushioning, seating, and dim lighting. Now, I'm sure you'll be smiling when we are discussing this, okay? Because in some classrooms, in our context, it is not going to be possible. But this is what has been tried out. Okay, this is what have been tried out, and then positive results have been reflected, and therefore we are discussing them. So if possible, this can be done. Peripheral learning is encouraged through presence in learning environments of posters, decorations featuring the target language and various grammatical information. So when we are discussing this, we should also remember that sometimes, we limit discussions of methods and approaches at school level. It's not like that. It depends on the teacher. It depends on your innovative abilities to try this out in literature classrooms, to try this out in if you're teaching communication skills. Okay, it depends on your ability, your innovation, your will to ensure that learning takes place in the classroom. Teacher assumes a role of complete authority and control in the classroom. Okay, so self-perceived and psychological barriers to learners' potential sometimes are they are de-suggested. Students are encouraged to be childlike, take mental trips. Okay, so these are the problems with while we should also focus on that discussion. Music is played softly in the background to increase mental relaxation and potential. So here, what is suggested is combination of in terms of use of music along, and we all understand the role of music when it comes to mental relaxation. So when our mind is ready for input, okay, or what we can use the term as comprehensible input should be provided, and for that proper environment should be created. Students work from lengthy dialogues into target language, which an accompanying translation into students' native language. Errors are tolerated here. Earlier, as we discussed, errors were not tolerated. Okay, immediate corrections. But uh, I think errors and part and parcel, as it is rightly said, to err is human and to forgive is divine. So when you make mistakes and somebody points out, gradually you are going to uh, corrected. Okay, so sometimes this is not what is the topic of our discussion, but there is difference between errors, mistakes, and lapses. But most of the time, we understand that we use all these terms. Corder, okay, he has given the specific bifurcation of how errors are different from mistakes and how mistakes are different from lapses. Okay, so if you get to refer to that, you should know the difference, because sometimes errors, they get cemented and you cannot correct them. For that, specific training or remedial classes or training is required. So grammar and vocabulary are presented and given treatment by the teacher, but not dwelt on. Okay, so these are some points. So I'm not going to discuss all the approaches here in detail, but I'll just take you to this word. So whenever they appear, you should know that, oh, Suggestopedia, it has something to do with music. It has something to do with, environment to be given to students so that proper learning takes place. So it combines positive suggestion, uh, so in terms of relaxation, music, optimal learning state. The student should be ready. Okay, Georgie is the contributor here when it comes to Suggestopedia. Characteristics, comfort level, use of art, music, positive reinforcement, suggestions, learning through suggestions and relaxation, dramatic techniques and storytelling. Again, criticism, what the linguist thought of, or the practitioners or teachers thought is requires specific classroom setup, right? As I told you, that it may not be possible in all situations to have a specific classroom setup. Some techniques may be unorthodox, limited empirical evidence supporting the effectiveness. But this has been tried out. And that is what we do in terms of research in ELT. All these things are tried out. This leads to one more very important. I tried out this with my students, and to teach them as an example of teaching French. Okay, and it really worked. It really worked, this total physical response. And then, as we are going to conclude, as I said earlier, we are going to talk about eclectic approach. So the best point, so somewhere in grammar translation method, the translation part you can take, direct method, 5-10 minutes, you don't use your mother tongue, and other total physical response. So for, especially for the learners, I think you earlier the teachers might have discussed about various learning styles: auditory, kinesthetic. So total physical response, it works best for kinesthetic learners, students who don't like to sit at one place. Okay, uh, total physical response is based on listening linked to physical activities, which are designed to reinforce comprehension. Okay, Escher is credited. Means there are many people who have later on worked, but when it comes to James Escher, he is the person who did a lot of research in this area when it comes to total physical response. The method relies on assumption that when learning a second or additional language, that language is internalized through a process of code breaking, similar to first language development. That is what we have to understand. Now, learning a second language or a foreign language, the situations are different, because the major problem, if we talk of English, is students or teachers, they teach English in a classroom. But the real problem is the exposure which students get while acquiring a language of the target language. The same exposure you don't get when you are teaching or learning a second language or a foreign language, English, for instance. So that exposure is a real problem. Students respond to commands that require physical movement Uh, uh, Successful second language learning should be parallel to process to child first language acquisition. So this line is very important. As future educators, I would say that uh, when you are dealing with second language, okay, you should remember that it should be the methodology should be somewhere parallel to the process to child's first language acquisition. Appropriate activities can be produced stress-free learning. Learners are encouraged. Learners are encouraged um, to participate. Okay, and just a moment. Encouraged to speak when they feel ready to speak. Okay, so they should be given time. That is what we do with language acquisition. When the child is learning, there is no hurry by the parents or people around that the child should speak immediately after birth. It listens to a lot of conversations, and gradually one fine day, when the child is ready to speak, the child speaks. So can't we do this in the real classroom situation? That is a matter of discussion. And if we can do that, okay, we have to be all prepared with all the methods, approaches, and willing. We should be willing to bring that change in our classroom. Okay, so theory of total physical, again, grammar-based view of language, verb, imperative form, examples, and stimulus response view in terms of theory. So to sum up, physical movements, okay, as we know, James is the contributor, major contributor, strong emphasis on listening and understanding, commands and action, characteristics, learning through doing, use of physical activities, engages kinesthetic learners. Now, the point is, you will say all learners in the classroom won't be kinesthetic learners, right? Some will be auditory, some will be tactile, among and others. So that's what we have to identify the needs of learners, identify the best points from all the methods, okay, and design an approach, what we call eclectic, which suits our learners. Criticism limited to beginner level, of course. Here at advanced level, you need to work on other things. May not cover all aspects of language learning. Less focus on advanced language skills. This brings us to the most discussed approach, okay, communicative language teaching. And this is what I don't know whether you have heard of modified communicative approach. We are not going to discuss that, but let's talk about communicative language teaching. Two names which come to my mind when we talk about communicative language teaching. So these two terms you have to remember: communicative competence. Okay, Delheims. Okay, so he talks about communicative competence, Delheims. And this was against, in opposition of what Chomsky uh, talked about, linguistic competence. Okay, so there was a debate between them that linguistic competence, according to Delheims, it should be communicative competence first rather than linguistic competence. And what Chomsky suggested was linguistic competence. Here, emphasis was an emphasis on learning to communicate through interaction in target language. Authentic and meaningful communication should be the goal of classroom activities. Okay, so gradually, and communicative language teaching is the only one method or general communicative approach, if we talk about, which has lasted for long as compared to other methods and approaches. Okay, in terms of, after all the research, we have come to something authentic. But the most authentic is eclectic approach, in the sense that you combined the best things of all the methods and approaches. The introduction of authentic texts into learning situations, the provision of opportunities for learners to focus not only on language, but also on learning process itself. Okay, learning process. So language is important. The focus on language is important, but also the process, how language is learned, that is also important. An enhancement of learners' own personal experiences as important contributing elements to classroom learning. An attempt to link classroom language learning with language acquisition outside the classroom. So you will see there is a repetition of some points which we discussed earlier here. Okay, so that is how evolution takes place. Okay, there is modification of what has been done earlier, and the negative points or the points which didn't work earlier, those points were changed. Fluency is important dimension of communication. As I said earlier, form should come, meaning should come before form. Okay, and form is going to come gradually. So I'll just give you example of a few spoken English classes in the market. They start with teaching grammar, and the title is spoken English classes. That it doesn't work that way. Okay, so we should focus more on how a child learns language. Okay, that is LSRW. Communication involves the integration of different language skills. Learning is a process of creative construction and involves trial and error. Okay, like you, when you experiment with language, there will be errors, but that should not stop you. Okay, when you become teachers, you will feel that in classroom some students, they don't actively participate in the classroom, or they don't speak because they are always worried, what if, how people would react, what if I make errors, what if I'm not able to speak or pronounce a particular thing, word correctly. So that is, so as teachers you will have to create that environment that students are not afraid of making mistakes. Okay, so communicative language teaching prioritizes interaction, real communication, fluency over accuracy. Okay, so meaning before form, authentic language should be used in meaningful context. Uh, as I said earlier, Dale Himes, he talks about communicative competence. Noam Chomsky also contributed to communicative language teaching, but he talks of linguistic competence. Okay, characteristics, task-based activities are tried out, focus on functional language use, encourages negotiation of meaning, integration of all language skills, learner-centered approach. Okay, so gradually the shift from teacher-centered to, even in silent method, we talked about how the focus has been shifted to a learner-centered approach. Again, as discussed earlier, there will be criticisms. Okay, what are the criticisms here? That it may neglect teaching of grammar. Yeah, but that grammar part can be taken later on. Requires careful balancing between fluency and accuracy. Can be challenging to access communicative competence. Obviously, it can be challenging in the way. Again, teacher training of, I still remember, uh, just for information, when there was a change in textbook, okay, in Gujarat, where earlier it was structure based. Okay, what happened is when trainings were given, but when some researches were done, it was observed that the the textbooks were based on communicative approach, but teaching in the classroom continued with the traditional grammar translation or other methods which were followed earlier. So we as teachers will have to adapt and be ready for the change take proper training, and then end up with new innovations for learning to take place. Okay. This leads us to task-based language learning. As I said, Indian. So NS Prabhu, if you have heard of his Bangalore project, okay, this is question sometime asked. Okay, NS Prabhu tried out a project in Bangalore which was based on task. Okay, task-based language learning is a method of instruction which focuses on use of authentic language, and here the focus is on doing meaningful tasks using the target language. For example, visiting a doctor, or communication, okay, based on language functions, interviewing, getting ready for preparing for interview, among others. Assessment is primarily based on task outcome. That is, appropriate completion of task is done, rather simply accuracy of language rather than accuracy. Okay, so appropriate completion of task rather than accuracy. And here also feeling is that accuracy is going to come later. So task-based language learning, the role of teacher changes from that of an instructor and the prosecutor of errors to that of supporter and the inventor of task. So that is how the change in the use of the word teacher, as I said, and the role of teacher in the classroom. It proved useful, okay, to divide the learning process in task-based language learning in three phases. That is pre-task, the pre-task phase, doing of the task, and the post-task phase. This is what is followed if you are going to do your B.Ed or M.Ed in future. You will understand that. But apart from that, when you are going to take the test of NET and SLET, you should be aware of this bifurcation as well. Problems again with task-based, no general agreement on what method is. Any principal choice of techniques can be turned as method. Some methods are not based on clear language and learning theory. Okay, methods are open to wide interpretation by material developers and teachers. Okay, so these are some problems which come along with the entire thing. The problems here is, as I said earlier also, most methods have been developed in Western countries like US and US. So you need to try this out in Indian context and see. That will come at a later stage when you will do research. But yeah, some components can be used. The fallacy that anything imported by US and UK is by nature effective and advanced. You cannot guarantee that. Okay, so actually you will have to try this out and decide whether it is going to be useful to you in that context. Methods developed in a specific educational, social, and cultural context cannot be exported wholesale and used in countries with different philosophies, values, and beliefs. So this is very important. Okay, as far as our understanding, our learning of methods and approaches is concerned, that is good. We should know who is responsible for which method, how it was tried out, when it was tried out, in terms of knowledge. But I'm taking you further. Next step, after you clear your NET SLET, when you will become faculty members, you'll be in the classroom. You should remember that all these methods and approaches which were tried out, okay, they were tried out in different educational, social, cultural setup. So obviously, the needs of Indian students or needs of students of Gujarat will be different. So accordingly, you'll have to adapt and use them. Okay. These are few other instructions. For example, content based. I'm not going into detail, but I'll just take you to the titles where content based instruction, the contributors were Indian origin, Mohan Britton Snow, well, among others. Okay, so content was given priority here. Based on the content, the development of language teaching and learning. Okay, instruction driven by subject matter of the content. So this is content-based instruction. Then there is community language learning, where the focus, again, humanistic approach of focusing learner feelings on social interaction with other peer members. Teachers act as counselor or a facilitator. The person who is known for his contribution for community language learning is Charles A. Kern. You might have heard of this name. Okay, so you should be aware of this. Then comes cooperative language learning. So where again the focus is on collaboration and group work as compared to community language learning. Here, David and Roger Johnson, Spencer, these are the contributors of cooperative language learning. Last but not the least, I would say, eclectic approach in teaching English. Okay. Larson, Freeman, Mello, they have said, both have used this term, principled eclecticism, to describe a desirable, coherent, pluralistic approach to language teaching. I would read this for you because this is very important. Eclecticism involves the use of variety of language learning activities. Variety, what they mean here is variety from what has been tried out earlier in terms of all methods. Okay, each of which may vary different characteristics and may be motivated by different underlying assumptions. The use of eclecticism is due to the fact that there are strengths as well as weaknesses of a single theory based on methods, right? So relying upon one is not going to help, and therefore combining. The teacher decides which methodology or approach to use in the classroom. Okay, on aims of lessons and learners in the groups. Almost all modern course books have mixture of approaches and methods. So this is what has been tried out now. People are talking more of eclectic approach. As I said earlier, again, these experiments of methods and approaches, the linguists, they tried out in UK, US, other Western countries. Okay, here, if we talk about our context, we'll have to try this out. Advantages is say the use of variety of ideas. They are going to address different types of learners in the classroom. Interest, teachers need to use different techniques to hold learners' attention. Okay, different language learning, teaching contexts require different methodologies, flexibilities. Okay, all these things, safety, interest, diversity, flexibility, you can get when you implement eclectic approach. Now, eclectic approach is an approach where is a contribution of many people. Okay, so there you will not get one name. Okay, when it comes to the discussion of eclectic approach. So what we have discussed, I would not say in detail, I would say briefly, because you will have to read from the prescribed resource reference book discussed earlier by Larson and Freeman and Richards and Roger. So grammar translation method, the focus was on translation and grammar. Direct method, emphasis was on oral communication and immersion. Audiolingual method, habit formation through drills. Okay. Community language, communicative language teaching, interaction, real life communication. Task-based language teaching, task completion as the central focus. Then competency-based instruction, integration of language and content learning. Total physical response, learning through physical response, silent way, learners' autonomy, music, we discuss minimal teacher talk, community language learning, emphasis on social interaction, and community, suggestopedia, use of relaxation and suggestions, natural approach, comprehensible input, low stressed environment, MI, which we have not discussed in detail, this is one approach. It's called tailoring. It is called multiple intelligence approach. It is tailoring multiple intelligence. Indirectly, I have discussed that, but further reading on the same you'll have to do. Cooperative learning, collaboration, and group work, and in the end, eclecticism. We talked about eclectic approach, combining elements from various multiple methods. Okay, so this is what I wanted to discuss in terms of methods and approaches. Hope I have given you some idea, okay, brief idea, but detail you'll have to read things on your own. I'm sure by reading the books which have been recommended to you, you will be benefited. Okay, all the best for your future endeavors. Pleasure talking to you. Yeah. And to just conclude, choosing the right method. So this will come later on. So these are the things you should remember. Okay, you should know the students' needs, learning styles. You should be aware of teaching context and resources, because it is not necessary that wherever you are placed in terms of job, okay, you have all the resources available to try this out. So based on the condition, you'll have to adapt and select the right method. Okay, so there is no one size fits all method. Okay, what we can use the term that one size fits all methods is eclecticism, eclectic approach. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. And thank you, Department of English, head of the department,
Okay,
for
we
inviting.
also thank you.
Yeah.
I couldn't follow this because madam has drawn a paper, and two of my technicians started solving the paper.
Okay.
So we were late to that.
No.
So on behalf of the department, on my personal behalf and my colleagues, I thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So we'll continue to meet.
Definitely, sir. We have been meeting. Yeah.
Okay, see you.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay. See you.
એમને કે જો રે પાર્ટિસિપેન્ટ ને કજો રે
Hello, there is one announcement for the participants that you stay put. Hello. Today the plan was that madam would engage the class from 2:30 to 3:30, and then there will be exam, 1 hour exam. But now madam is not going to engage the class or not going to engage you, but she will give you a paper at 2:30. So come back at 2:30 sharp. Okay. And see for yourself how much have you gathered from whatever has been said to you by different professors and lecturers. Okay. So we are meeting at 2:25. By 2:25, you join us, and paper will be given to you of 50 marks or 100 marks, I don't know. Okay. So thank you. Any comments? Anything you want to say? Okay. Now you can leave.